morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communication for the Small Business Association of Michigan. For the past several years, SBAM has partnered with DTE Energy to bring our members valuable energy solutions. Today, Jeremy Capello, Principal Marketing Analyst at DTE Energy, joins us to give small business owners a brief overview of energy efficiency opportunities and current rebates and incentives. So please, we encourage you to see what upgrades and updates you can make to your own business after this webinar by requesting a free energy assessment at sbam.org/energy. And if you do have any questions throughout today's broadcast, you can put them in the comments on Facebook or here on Zoom, and we'll get them to Jeremy. So thanks, and I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and provide as much education as we can on energy efficiency, and of course, looking forward to being engaged with all of you and what we can do to help. Sarah, do you want to start off with having some questions, or do you have any? Is there anybody who's brave enough to ask anything, or any questions in general about energy efficiency?
Yet.
Something specific?
So, yeah, we don't have any yet, Jeremy. So I think what would be really helpful is for you to kind of give a brief overview of how the small business energy program works at DTE. Sure. So just walk people through. Yeah. I think it's a really overwhelming, it's a really overwhelming thing to think about for the average business owner. So what could I, if I'm a business owner in the DTE territory, expect? What are some low-level things I could do to potentially increase my energy efficiency at my business? And then how do I go about making that happen so that it's easy for me to manage, because as a business owner, I just don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great questions. And just to give you guys kind of a little bit of background about myself, I've been with DTE Energy for just over 8 years. All of my time's in energy efficiency, and I've been managing our small business program for the last 2 years. So the first thing that Sarah said hits home to me, small business owners in my family and friends and things like that. And the first thing that I learned was, wow, you guys are busy. You're busy running the cash registers, doing inventory, being HR, and there's just so much with energy efficiency. It is very overwhelming. So to answer Sarah's question, the first thing that we recommend actually is going through our program for an audit. We have at DT a small business program. It's complimentary, and you'll have an energy specialist come out to your business, and they'll review your usage with you. And this is the most important thing, is they're going to do a baseline equipment assessment. And so what that means is they're just going to take stock of everything that's at your existing business. And that's really important, because that's going to allow us to do the calculations for what is the best improvement that we can make, what is using your most energy, what is going to have the best return on investment. Because I think in terms of improvements and things that most businesses would be looking for at this point in time, ROI is key. Doing a project that's going to have a 20 or a 30-year payback, that's a tough sell, right? Even for a residential customer. So we really recommend by starting with the audit. And as Sarah mentioned, it's complimentary. They'll come out to your business. They'll meet you where you are. In most cases, you would qualify also for what we call direct install. So if there's something that I can see with my hands and I can swap it out, like a light bulb, or sometimes the shower heads, or faucet aerators, or pipe wrap, things like that, that's included in the assessment. So depending on what you have at your site, if you have a bunch of incandescent bulbs, the bulb that's above me is an LED flood. If you had incandescent floods, as part of the assessment, we would come out and swap those out for you. So the assessment is key, because it's going to give you some education. It's going to take stock of your baseline to see what we can help you with. And then lastly, Sarah mentioned the website and the rebates. So we kind of have rotating rebates and specials depending on the season. So right now, for example, we have 25% extra bonus on lighting, and then an additional 25% off on exterior lighting. And then if you do take up one of the assessments, you would also qualify for an additional 25% bonus on the assessment too. So in some cases, some of these rebates can be upwards of 75% of the project cost that you can get incentivized for. So timing is definitely key on some of these things too, depending on when you're looking to do upgrades. I know one thing that we're really starting to do now is working with businesses to plan for next year, whether that's an audit, whether that's getting equipment planned. But the other key thing is working with financing. So I know that that's an option that many people aren't aware of, and we have relationships with many of the lending partners here, and you can get a very low cost loan. In some cases, it's even 0%. So, there's a lot of options out there for financing, for rebates, for trade allies. But the thing that I really want to drive home is you really don't know until you have that first step, which is the audit. So that's really why we recommend starting with the audit, taking stock of what's existing, and then as your energy experts, we'll work with you to create a plan, whether that's financing, whether that's rebates, whether that's timing, whether you don't have a contractor, whether you already have a contractor, we can work with your existing maintenance people or your existing electricians. It doesn't have to be, somebody from the program. So I can't stress that enough, getting that audit done first and allowing us to kind of start there and understand what you have and then create the plan based off of that.
I have one follow-up question, and then we did have a couple of questions come in. So you did mention that light bulbs could be part of the audit or assessment. Does that mean those are replaced at no cost to a business owner, or is there a cost? Okay, so that's a really simple thing to do. You get the audit done.
Exactly.
There's some simple swaps.
Exactly. And it depends on the lighting. I don't want to say all light bulbs are complimentary, because there are certain very specialty light bulbs or what have you that might not be included. But, like I said, if you have a standard flood, which is just what I have above me, a regular LED, those big floodlights, that's part of the things that they'll swap out, and they'll give you generally anywhere between 20 and 50 free light bulbs, just again, as part of us coming out and giving you an education. So definitely.
Fantastic. So I know one of the things that's on my mind, and I'm sure it's on the mind of a lot of our members as well, is you talk about coming out to my place of business. And while we're also dealing with COVID, could you walk through some of the safety precautions that DTE takes when you're visiting a member's business? And I will just preface that by saying I know that our teammates who do visit members' businesses follow these same protocols. So just give us a brief overview of that, please.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sarah. Thanks for bringing that up. Unlike like every other business and everything else, we're not at the office. We're being asked to be remote. And kind of when all of this happened back in March, we were asked to create a safety plan. So we sat down with our implementers and created a procedure for each person who touches a customer business, home, a lot of really simple things that you don't think of, right? Like, here, customer, can you sign this? Well, we give you a pen in the wrapper and you keep the pen, right? But our sanitizing procedures start with the home start. So most of our employees don't come into an office, right? So we have what's called home start people. We sent them a thermometer. They take their temperature every morning and they have to report that back to us. And so we'll look at all of our staff members and make sure that their temperature is passed. And then they have to pass the basic screening questions, right? Have they been in contact? Have they traveled outside of the country or the state? Because we recognize that's not a CDC guideline anymore, I don't think. But we take that extra precaution to say, if you've been traveling or you're outside of the state, take the 14 days. We can't have any type of risk or anything at all. So we take the utmost caution when it comes to entering a customer's home, business, contacting them. So again, the home start, we'll do the temperature read thermometer, we'll do the screening. Prior to visiting the site, Each person has a sanitizing station inside their vehicle. So when DTE comes out, you'll see a big DTE van. It's got our logos on the side. Inside that sliding van door, there's a whole hand washing station. Each customer that they go into, they have to keep a Ziploc bag. And so all of their gloves, all of their sanitizing, everything for each specific audit goes in its own bag. So there's really no risk of, I went into one customer's business, I touched something, I went into the car. They have to sanitize the car in between every appointment. So there's wipes for the steering wheel, for the doors, and it is only one person. So in the past, we might have had, if you have a large business, we might have sent 2 people out there, but now we're just only sending the one person. So, they do have their masks on, they do adhere to the social distancing guidelines. But the thing that I really want to drive home is our sanitizing procedures and our, we'll call it, we usually call these pre-job briefs. Before you go out to a job, you go through the questionnaire and you make sure and double check that everything is green. So we're checking that every morning, and that's with every contractor. So I know that this specific webinar is on small business, but any of the programs that DT has, those are our sanitizing procedures, and we take that with the utmost caution and very serious. So any type of guideline that gets put out, we're going to follow that. So we've been doing that since the beginning of March, and I can happily say we haven't had any customer issues, and we haven't had any staff members or anything that have been directly affected by COVID. So that's a positive. But of course, anything we can do, whether that's having a little hand sanitizer clip now on their belt, the disposable pens, we're emailing documents to you. We're not physically printing things and handing them off. So we've certainly adapted our business practices to ensure the customer safety and our safety as well.
That's fantastic. I think that is beyond most people's expectations. So I know that would make me feel a lot better as a business owner, having you into my facility. So tell me a little bit about what happens after you come in and you do the audit. You might identify a few things that we can update right now, or that's low cost or no cost. But our members are really busy people. They're being pulled in a lot of directions. And I know we've heard this in the past. They say, we had the audit, and this was maybe before they worked with SBAM. We had an audit, but I didn't really know what to do after the fact. So walk through how people can prioritize and really make actionable steps going forward to make some of these updates and upgrades happen on their timeline. I know you talked a little bit about financing, and we have another webinar coming up with Michigan Saves that we'll dive in deeper there. But walk me through how a business owner can react to an audit, make an actionable plan, and talk a little bit about how DTE and then also SBAM will work with that business owner going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So you hit it right on the head, Sarah. A lot of customers are very overwhelmed with this. And once the audit happens, it's kind of like, what do I do? Because there's so much information, stuff that's kind of hitting you. I'll start by saying we are here to help. Our program design, we call it the concierge model. And what that means is from the start to the end, we're here to help you. If we can fill out your application, if we can do your rebate for you, anything that we can do to help, we absolutely will. So how that kind of manifests itself in our program is, you have the audit, right? After the audit, we'll work with you. Do you have a trade ally or a contractor, right? Do I have, John Smith Electrical who comes out, any problem that I have, he'll come out here and fix it. We can work with your existing person. If you have an internal maintenance person, there's maybe a staff member who does all of your maintenance. We can work with that person. If you've never had a trade ally before, we have 400 strong of trade allies that have been vetted of 10 years of experience through our program. So we have very reliable service people. If, okay, I have an electrician, but I don't have an HVAC guy, right? We can help you link up with those contractors. And then to your point, prioritizing this stuff. And to be honest, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because different trade allies have different prices and there's different costs to kind of do things. So I can't give you one like silver bullet as to like this is what's going to happen all the time, but generally what's going to happen is the trade ally is going to come out, they're going to give you their bid to say here's the 5 things that we would recommend doing. And then what I would do is ask them about the rebates, because that's how that's going to help you prioritize that. Generally for most people it comes down to the return on investment. And I'll say for 90% of our businesses, it's lighting. Most of your cost is going to be lighting. And that's, once you swap that out, the things that come after that are very small, minimal improvements. Things like HVAC, occupancy sensors, right? There's really small little tune-ups that you can make that'll help you. But the majority of people's usage, especially in this area of Michigan, is going to be electricity. So really to prioritize that, you want to understand how much is this costing me today, right? And that's part of the audit. We're going to come there with a report to show you, here's over the past year what you've used. Comparing this month to last year at this time, here's what you've used. So you can really understand if there are some other type of factors that are impacting you. A lot of times it can just be the weather, right? If we had a really hot summer, chances are more people are running their air all summer and that sort of thing. But if you don't have somebody to review that information with you, you don't know, right? And that's something that I caution everybody with. We all love auto pay. I do the same thing, but make sure that you log in and look at that, because even if you have the slightest question, definitely give us a call, because we are here to help you, and we want to help you understand your energy usage and reduce that, right? And I think so much can kind of happen in there. And like you said, Sarah, everybody is extremely busy, and we want to be cognizant of that. So if we have 5 minutes, that's great, right? Any time that we have to help, we will. And any problems that you run into, we have dedicated support. One great thing about working with Sarah and SBAM, they have a whole energy solutions division. We work directly with Kyle and Sarah at the SBAM energy solutions team to really create a seamless experience for SBAM members. And, to be honest with you, SBAM members qualify for different promotions and different bonuses that not general DT customers wouldn't have access to. So not only do we already have the concierge model built into the program, but being linked up with SBAM Energy Solutions is just going to give you guys that extra boost, whether that's even a bonus, whether that's an extra person to call. You have an extra layer of support on top of the DT support. And it's kind of funny how these things work out, right? We started a new program, we bring on a new energy advisor, and it turns out he worked with Kyle at SBAM all those years ago. And so, just kind of funny, but I'd say this year, the experience for the customers has been much better than previous years. And, we really, really look forward to taking more feedback and trying to make this as easy as possible, because that's my goal as a program lead, is to try and get as many people participating in this program as possible, and make it as easy as possible, because that's the last thing that we want, is to burden the customer, burden you guys with having to deal with applications and paperwork, and I don't know my account number, and what is this? That's the last thing we want. You can at any time call any of us and say, I don't understand this, I need help with this. And we'll gladly pick it up and do what we can to make the situation right.
Yes, and thank you. I know Kyle is watching today, and Kyle is a great liaison between our membership and your customers. So Kyle's very knowledgeable in all things energy and can answer questions or get to the answer pretty much for any issue that arises. So one other question just came in. Let's say I've already had an audit, or maybe I'm not interested in the full audit, but I know I want to upgrade my HVAC, or I know I want to look at maybe some air filtration systems, or I have a specific project in mind. Can DTE still help connect me with a trade ally for a project?
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. So you'd have 2 options. You could call the 1-800 number, which is, that's what I would recommend, because I would say call our 1-800 number, call Kyle at SBAM Energy Solutions and say, hey, I need some help with this. And we would use our established network of trade contractors to get somebody who is specialized in exactly what you're looking for, and somebody that we've already vetted who's worked with our program. The second option, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's more of a self-service option, right? We have what's called the Energy Efficiency Directory, and that's on the DT Energy website. And you can go on there and search any type of contractor you want. I want an HVAC contractor that's in Wayne County. Boom, here's 100 of them. So you can do it that way if you want to kind of say, hey, you know what? I want to call 3 or 4 people. I want to get a couple of different bids. That's okay. You can go through our directory and see all of our contractors, but definitely it is an option to call us directly or call us the Energy Solutions line with Kyle, and we would gladly link you up with a designated trade ally.
That's great to know. I know some people just have it in their head that they want to get something done, and let's just figure out the way to make that happen.
Yep, exactly.
So,
you don't need to do the full audit, especially if in your mind you have a specific, whether that's lighting, HVAC, something specific that you want to do. I would definitely recommend working with those specialty contractors because they know it, versus more of a general one who might even refer you to a specialty one if you're looking for something very specific.
and if our members choose to work through SBAM Energy Solutions and through DTE, then they would be eligible for those bonuses and incentives that you mentioned. And I do know we're rolling out some of those very soon. So I'd encourage anybody watching today, if you do want to get an audit and find out what's available in your, for your needs, it's at sbam.org/energy. You can request an assessment and we'll follow up via email or phone with you to get that scheduled. So Jeremy, we don't have any other questions that have come in. I don't know if you had any final thoughts on some things that you'd like our members to consider.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of things, just plugs for some kind of cool things that we have going on in DT. And there's just a lot of things that don't really get shared publicly. But I just kind of want to say this, first of all, we really appreciate the opportunity to work with SBAM. Not only is it a great organization that really aligns with our purpose, but it's getting us closer to the customers. And I love the opportunity to connect with customers. And I would strongly suggest staying plugged in on all of the SBAM stuff, because this partnership with DT and SBAM, since I've taken over the program in the past 2 years, is really, really taken off. And so I work with Sarah and our corporate communications work with Sarah and their team on the newsletter. So we advertise some of our specials and things like that come out in the SBAM newsletter. The social media, we advertise a lot of our stuff on there. And we also have what's called Energy Smarts. So this is a DTE branded magazine, and all of the program leads work on it and contribute content. And I think Kyle's actually going to be in this upcoming one. So we generally do a SBAM member spotlight. And it's just another medium for you guys to get energy efficiency content. So this magazine's free. It's online, or we can mail it to your house. You can definitely email me or Sarah, and we'd be happy to send you one. But it is a small business specific magazine, and it just shares some of the customer stories and experiences and kind of some of the things that are happening throughout all of our programs. And so I would say just kind of the best advice that I would have is stay up to speed on kind of all of that, and just, stay educated, and don't hesitate to reach out for questions, right? Because energy efficiency is just like everything else in the world. It changes month by month sometimes. And, you had an audit 3 years ago, things have completely changed in 3 years. I would strongly suggest reaching out to us again and asking for help. And really I'll just kind of end with that, and, just say that we're really here to help you guys. And so even if it's the most off the wall DT thing, can I get my power lines buried? I don't know the answer to that, but I will do my best to get somebody to answer that question for you. So I would just say any questions that you have, or anything energy related, we're really here to help you guys, and we look forward to serving you.
Yes, you never know until you ask. I know we helped one member move a pole from a parking lot. I'm not sure if it was DTE or consumers, but you never really know until you ask and reach out. Jeremy, that magazine is fantastic. I know 2 of the members that we featured in the past, and there may have been more. I think we did Sonia Parker's firm in Ann Arbor, and then Golden Limousine in Milan. Those were featured, 2 really good success stories. that we've had the privilege of working with both those members over the past few years. We did get one other question that came in. I think people are, now that we're heading into winter, what if you have windows or doors or other maintenance issues that you think might be maybe a heat suck, or letting out too much air in the summer or heat in the winter? Does DTE assist with any of those projects?
So we do. There are trade contractors. It depends on, what industry you're in and what type of windows and things like that. But door and window gaskets are very common. That's literally one of the easiest things you can do. I know I'm guilty of it. I got patio doors and I can see the seal coming off right on the bottom of my patio door, and I can feel the air when I'm standing next to it. So, definitely depends on how much you have and what you're looking to do. I mean, it could be as easy as going to Home Depot and just buying that strip and sticking it on the bottom, right? Some of the bigger case windows or, some of the slot depends on how they open. Some of those have different gaskets and sealing on it, and we have contractors who come out and do that. There's gasket and sealing contractors that's all that they do. Generally, they're visiting like the convenience stores and kind of thinking about case lighting and stuff like that. But we do have contractors that do gaskets and sealing and stuff like that. As something you can do for yourself at home. If you have a leaky window, you can go to Home Depot and get that seal, and it's adhesive. It sticks right on there, and you use a blow dryer, and it can kind of, really seal up that window. I mean, that's, I'll call it a tape solution, which means it might last you the season, but you might have to look at a longer term solution later. But definitely, again, this is just one of those things, Sarah. We'll come out, we'll take a look and say, you know what, maybe you need to either replace your whole window, or you know what, maybe you don't even need to call this guy. Maybe there's something else that we can do for you. Generally the sealing and that sort of thing gets done by a specialist or somebody, who's can caulk it or do something like that. So I don't want to set the expectation to say that like DT is going to do that, but we will gladly help you get somebody who can do that and help you with rebates to do that.
All right. And then we have one final question, and it's a good one to end on. If I make these updates and upgrades and make these energy efficiency improvements, can I expect to see a difference on my DTE bill?
That's a great question. I would like to say in most cases, yes, right? And here's why I say in most cases. Different companies or different users use and consume power at different times, right? If you do energy efficiency improvements and you do not see your bill go down, please reach out to Sarah and Kyle. What we do at DTE, and we don't do this unless we get permission from the customer. It's by law, we have to get a sign off from the customer, but we can review your usage data. And in most cases, most of you have what's called AMI meters or smart meters. And what those do is those communicate with us every like 2 to 3 seconds. So I can pull your data and look in 15-minute intervals and see when you use and how you use. And typically that's going to reveal why your bill hasn't changed, right? So we had Ferndale School District did a large lighting project with us, and we replaced one of their middle schools, all of the lights to LEDs. And they kind of got their bill and said, what's going on? We just spent, $30,000 on lights. This is crazy. Our bill's just as much. Well, they didn't have it programmed to turn off after hours. So when we looked at their usage data from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., there was the same amount of usage as if the school was occupied. So sometimes it can be as simple as like those little things. But then also, we've had situations where you're looking at the usage data and it just peaks at a certain time. And that's enough for us to know we got to check this piece of equipment. We got to check your HVAC, or if you have a rooftop unit. A lot of this stuff gets really sophisticated with commercial customers. It's not as simple as a gas furnace like most residential customers. But in those cases, you definitely should see a reduction in your bill, because most of DT Electric customers, most of what we use is lighting. But if that's not the case, again, with your permission, we will happily do a study to determine what's going on. And then in some cases, some cases, we can look to see what rate you're on and determine, would you save money if we switched your rate? Now, a lot of customers are on our general service rate, so that doesn't make sense. But if you're an industrial customer who has a process and you run it from this time to this time, you might benefit from going on a off-peak price. So there are some things like that that we can also look at that might not be, call it energy efficiency, but it just might be general energy usage. So that's, again, something as part of our partnership with SBAM that we always like to try to help the customers out if there's any type of questions or something that they're not expecting. There's usually an answer to it. And if we have to, we'll mask up and we'll come out on site and take a look at your equipment, and, we'll put power meters on your stuff if we have to. It's been to that point before. And that's the stuff that kind of gets me excited about, working with you guys, is solving these real world problems. And, as I think about it, this is like, in my mind, the most important customers are these small customers and our small business customers and things that keep the community going. And in my mind, these are the customers that really need help. I don't have anything personally against General Motors or Ford or anything, right? Like, my dad worked for GM for 45 years, and that's great, but their needs and their level of sophistication is much different than a Coney Island on Main Street or a printing shop in my town who doesn't have that expertise. They don't have engineers. They don't have that staff. And I just really can't stress the importance of reaching out to us if you're confused or have any questions, because we are here to help. And we recognize that small business customers need that help. And we've set up a dedicated staff and program to service you from start to finish.
That's great. And I think one of the things I've learned throughout these past several years of working with DTE is that the business owners really need to look at the utility as a partner in their business. Right. I think so often you just get used to, it's a bill that comes in, you pay it, and you don't really think that much about it. But you all are there to really help these small business owners understand their bills, understand where they could have better efficiency, and be a true partner in solving some of these issues that could then save them money, down the line. So I know we appreciate the partnership very much, and really appreciate you taking time to talk to our members today. Anybody out there who, if you are anywhere around the state, you don't have to be a DTE customer. I know we talked today with Jeremy at DTE, but anybody, I encourage you to go to sbam.org/energy to request an assessment. And Kyle Richards, our energy advocate, will talk to you and get you set up with someone on Jeremy's team to do an audit. So thank you, Jeremy, so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Sarah, I don't know if there's an easier way to share my email signature or something like that, but obviously anything that we can do to help, please reach out. And, I look forward to working with you guys. And thank you very much, Sarah, for having me. I appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.